Okay, we about to get into this 2Pac Decoded situation. I was trying to play a song by Tupac, but I'm gonna try something I never tried before to see if I can, because I want y'all to hear it. He had a song called Ghost. So the question being, if we talk about Tupac Amaru Shakur, we have to talk about military strategy. Because in one place, you hear the brother say, you hear the brother saying, I did everything righteous by the rules of war. So if he doing everything righteous by the rules of war, what is he talking about? Okay, so then he point out books that he read while he was incarcerated. He point out The Art of War. He point out The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. He point out several other books, but those are the two critical ones, because if you're going to do things according to the rules of war, you have to know what is he talking about. So you start with the most oldest of the war treaties, which was written by the Chinese philosopher Sun Tzu. And we talking about now, let me do some invites while I'm on here, because there's some people that told me I'd be forgetting to invite them. But when you analyze Tupac and you look at it for what it really is, and you don't get involved in the games, just step back and look at what it is. What did Tupac say? What did Tupac do? Now, the first thing I have to take y'all back is a 1993 interview with Fab Five Freddy, because this is the foundation that all of this is built on. In 1993, Pac unveiled what you call thug life. In the process of this thug life philosophy, as he unveiled it, as Tupac unveiled the philosophy, he told us. Now, when you watch the interview, you cannot find it in its totality. There's a critical piece of the interview, no matter where you find it at, it's been edited. And that critical piece is when Tupac say, with this thug life shit, y'all gonna get to witness. You're gonna get to see the evolution of a man right before your eyes. You know, you're gonna get to see all of the missteps, the mistakes, the recovery. He tell you all of this stuff when he unveiled Thug Life. He go on in there and he tell you about how the industry was trying to rob him of his earnings. This is before he ever was shot in Quad Studios. And so if the industry is trying to steal his money, what is the remedy? Now, in that same interview, he say, I am a product of the ghetto. I'm the product of poverty. He said, when you learn to live in poverty, you learn how to relate. He says, so me growing up a Panther, I already went through all of my anger, but it's something after the anger. So what comes after the anger? So let's analyze emotional expression. So you're angry, you got attitude, right? So you got two options: negotiation or war. Now we're talking about going by the rules of war, because he said he did everything righteous by the rules of war. So in warfare, so first of all, you got to understand what warfare is. The only military philosopher that gives a concise and definite definition is a German military philosopher named Karl von Clausewitz. Von Clausewitz said that war is an act of violence to further a political agenda. All right. So war being an act of violence to further a political agenda. One of his songs you hear Tupac say, nobody dies unless we planned it. So, and another one, you will hear him say, right before your very eyes, you won't even realize that you can't see me. He there, but you don't see him. And so we get into 2Pac Decoded. I wish I could get these videos to show for y'all because it would make this so much simpler. But since I'm not really proficient at add-ins on this right now, I'm just going to have to quote him and tell y'all where to find the information. The most critical thing right now is a Haitian Jack interview. Haitian Jack got 2 interviews. I'm going to see if I can put them in the comment section. All right, so now this Haitian Jack interview, let me see. This Haitian Jack interview that I'm about to load into the comment section, right? This is the first one. Wait a minute. Okay, that interview that I just uploaded. In this one, let me make sure it's the right one. Okay, so matter of fact, I'm gonna put both of his interviews in here, so y'all can see them, and then y'all know what I'm talking about. One of them, okay, so the one that I wanted, okay, this is the second one. So I don't have the other one on file right now. The first one, he talks about the voodoo conjure in Haiti, Haitian Jack. Now remember, this Haitian Jack, the one that everybody thinks set 2Pac up, but coming to find out it was Jimmy Henchman behind it all the time. Now, Haitian Jack talking about the voodoo culture, and he said you can use it. It's black magic and it's white magic. You can use it to go whatever direction you want to, right? In another interview, he's pointing out something. He said from the time Pac got shot at Quad Studios, he had 22 months to vex his grievances. This Haitian Jack. He said, now do the math. He said, this is 2018, which was last year. He said, now it's been 22 years since Pac's death. And then he said, rest in peace, 2Pac and Biggie Smalls. And then he said that this was some type of fabricated murder script by Suge Knight. This is what Haitian Jack's saying. He's pinning it on Suge Knight. I don't go for that in its totality, because if Suge Knight involved, Puffy would be equally or greater involvement with the whole scenario. But from looking at it from a military perspective, this was playing at a much higher level than 2Pac would have been able as an artist alone to accomplish on his own. You got things coming in from multiple angles. You have street stuff, government, political stuff, and you have gangster secret society stuff going on here. So what is the thing that jumped out in 2Pac's FBI file to me was the heavy involvement with a group called the Jewish Defense League. Now, this being real important to pay attention to. And it's not haphazard that they're in 2Pac's FBI file as a potential extortionist attempting to extort 2Pac. And if the FBI is aware of this, why are they not intervening, right? Or are they? Maybe they're intervening on a level that we can't see. And so everybody in the hood that's seen indictments come down know that 2Pac situation could very well fall under that what they call secret indictment category, where they follow you around collecting information until they get you where they want you. So how do we unravel this? The first thing that we got to do to unravel this is go to Niccolo Machiavelli, The Prince. In The Prince, you got to understand that Niccolo Machiavelli, one, he was in exile. You got to keep that in mind. Niccolo Machiavelli was in exile. And while he was in exile, there was a march by a family of royalty called the Medicis. And Lorenzo de Medici, or Lorenzo del Piero Medici, he was the one who was the heir to the throne. He was the crown prince who Machiavelli sent his greatest work, The Prince, to. At first, Lorenzo Medici didn't look at it. He didn't look at it. He sat it to the side for a minute, but one day he picked it up and he started to read. And from this book, The Prince, Lorenzo Medici goes to implementing the strategies of this advisor in exile called Niccolo Machiavelli. Now, I have to sidetrack here. I have to refer y'all to a movie, Hell Up in Harlem, where I think it's either Richard Roundtree or Fred Williams. I can't remember which one was in the movie. But the movie is about a drug dealer. No, about a pimp. He's about a pimp who is trying to be extorted by both drug dealers and the police. And in this movie, the drug dealers and the police attempt to assassinate him, and they shoot him, and he escapes to Los Angeles where he's recovering. Then he recovers in Los Angeles. You go back and he take out all of his enemies. And this movie is based off of an urban legend. Now, we all heard the term in the hood called Mac. What's a Mac? A Mac is named after a street hustler and pimp named Machiavelli. Machiavelli, as a street hustler and a pimp. Now remember, Pac say his father was a street hustler and his mother was a panther. You got to keep that in mind as I go through this story. So this guy named Machiavelli, he changed the spelling of it to the same as 2Pac's. Machiavelli, M-A-C-K, which is your origin of your term Mac. The Mac became distinctly different from the pimp, being that pimps did never want to be the one out front in the spotlight getting the attention. So that was what Max did. So in the hood, the legend of the pimp or the hustler that they called Machiavelli produced the flashy dressing, flamboyant Max that we see today, and the term being interchangeable with pimp, but they totally different in that one is a peacock and the other is an owl, so to speak. Like one of them, you know they exist, you know he there, he's a pimp, but you hardly ever see him. Whereas a Mac, you know he coming because he's bringing his entourage, he's flashy, he got a whole bunch of girls with him, he's diamond rings, gold chains, the whole shebang. The Mac is in there. Okay, so now, in the urban legend, this guy they called a Machiavelli, it was attempted assassination on him. Now, this is like in the 50s or the 60s New York culture where this is supposed to happen at. I heard the same legend in Chicago, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which had a heavy pimp presence in the 70s. I heard it in New York. I heard the same legend in Atlanta. I heard this legend in New Orleans. Why is this same legend in all of the streets, but we don't remember it? And well, I had a very unique opportunity to sit and listen to old pimps and hustlers talk. And in the process of listening to these old pimps and hustlers and dealers talk, I get to hear certain things that they talked about in relation to strategy and hustling. And one of the things that they focused on was that story of Machiavelli, because they said that he was one of the smartest men in the game. But in real life, I don't think that was his name. I think that was a term that attached to him by the strategies of Niccolo Machiavelli being applied in the life of a street hustler. And I think he adopted that name, or he was attributed that name by other street hustlers who thought he was proficient in the art. And so the story of Machiavelli is exactly the same. He got drug dealers and law enforcement tried to execute him because they couldn't get in on his hustle. Now, the street rule is a hustler. If you're a hustler and you got goons and somebody is trying to extort you, the street rule is you eliminate them, period. You can't allow yourself to be extorted in the streets. So now when we're looking at the 2Pac situation, we have to look at it from a hustler's lens. We have to look at it from a military lens, which is the most important, because he flat out said, I did everything righteous by the rules of war. So then we start seeing things going into Vegas. Now, before we get to Vegas, before we get to the shooting in Vegas, this is what we have to analyze. What did Haitian Jack say? He said he had 22 months to vex his grievances. And he said, do the math. This is 22 years later. Now, don't nobody know what Haitian Jack talking about because we so disconnected from our culture. 22 is what they call a master number. 22 is what you call the master's number. Now, the masters are like relay runners in a struggle. The masters are relay runners. Each one make the way for the next. Remember that. Now, this number 22 that Haitian Jack talk about, when he talk about the 22 months of vexation of grievances, this is a show. This is a show that all masters attempt to do at a certain point of their initiation. The purpose of the show is to call forth the next master. And so when you go to his Clinton correctional interview, at close to the end of the interview, he got to stop the reporter. And he tell the reporter, he said, if I don't be successful in what I'm doing, this next dude, he ain't gonna be so merciful like me. He not gonna be kind. He not gonna have no compassion. This is what he's talking about. But he made it his business to emphasize that to the interviewer. This next dude that come after me, he not gonna be so merciful. He not gonna show so much compassion. So he knew something, right? He knew something. So now, the next interview that we go to is what they call the Lost Vibe interview. Then he talks about his comparison to the Christ. He say, I got shot 5 times. And you go to naming them. And you go, boom, boom, he's naming them. And then he go into this thing. He say, all of these preachers with these mega churches. He said, in New York, they got churches that take up the whole block with gold ceilings and all that. He said, but the poor people can't go live in there. And he tell you that he think he's doing God's work in that video. He said, I'm doing God's work. He said, because I don't see no missionaries going out here to these kids in the ghetto. I don't see them coming down there feeding none of these babies in the ghetto. So who's going to speak for them? So when you're looking at the lens of 2Pac, you got to see the whole story of what he doing. What is he doing? When you go back to the beginning and he tell you the thug life, he's going to show you the evolution, which is a process. Now, under the master number, the master keys is what it's called. Using the master keys of 22, 2Pac is supposed to awaken Hiram as a right in the lodge, the travel lodge. And so in 22 years, if he do this. But what all of the brothers in the lodge keep failing to remember, if they have this key, is that no man can raise Hiram. It's not possible. Every one of them that becomes a master, like for instance, a good one is the collaboration with Barry Gordy and Quincy Jones called The Last Dragon. The Last Dragon was the same story. It was trying to get Hiram to awaken. When you look at it and they asking Bruce Leroy who the master, and he going everywhere looking for the master. And then in the final confrontation with Shonuff, he realized he'd been looking everywhere out there for the master, but the master has been in here all the time. Now watch the glow. Sure enough is red. He is your representation of the fallen one. And he riding through the whole hood. He's a terror. He's an asshole. He's a scourge. Bruce Leroy is trying to be a good, upright man. Fall in love with this chick they call Vanity. Vanity is there for a reason. This is all part of the master using the master key 22 to awaken Hiram. He was watching and laughed because they had the characters reversed, and where Shonuff was more of the type of character that Hiram was, whereas Bruce Leroy was too passive. So that one wouldn't have worked. That would have never raised Hiram if a man could raise Hiram. You go back into music, and then you hear Buju Banton talking about a mystical communication within that keep drawing us together. But we don't know what he's talking about, but we know it's something there that keep telling us that we need to connect. All in the 70s, you heard it. Bob Marley, Exodus, movement of Jah people in the 70s. Now, it's no coincidence that the Bob Marley Exodus album dropped in 78. It dropped in 77. It got big in 78. Also in 1978, Farrakhan launched a newspaper on his mission to rebuild the Nation of Islam called The Final Call. That's not an accident. That the Exodus album of Marley and the Final Call newspaper, they come out together, like right together, because it's a reason for that. What else is on the Exodus album? The redemption song. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We have to fulfill the book. So all of these masters is trying to wake up a particular master. This goes all the way back to Prince Hall. Goes all the way back to Prince Hall because the other Masons, your Scottish Rite and your York Rite, they got what you call broken keys. They had to get broken keys in order to prevent them from holding on to power longer than they were allowed to. Their power time was up in 1918. Their time was up in 1918. Now go to the prophecy and it's saying 80 years later, which is 2008. I got paroled in 2007. Do the math. So 100 years later, all right, Levi Dowling, also a Mason. He wrote 18 Missing Years of Christ. I was sentenced to 18 to 50. 50 is the number of elder in the righteous community. So you know 50 being the number of the elder in the righteous community. Why? Because this is what you call your galactic seat number. So a man attaining the age of 50, he attains the age of elder. If he done his diligence coming up into the age of 50, then his elders or his status as an elder and his study to reach another level. And if he reached all of the levels it's called the unfolding of heaven on earth. And this is when a man becomes so realized that he see everything clearly. It's they call the moment of truth in bullfighting. The moment that the bull finally see the matador, regardless of the cape. Now notice, before the matador, you have a cape. That cape is called the veil. But at the moment of truth, the bull is about to literally die, but he finally sees the matador. That's the moment of truth. So physical death and spiritual death are two different things. And you die spiritually, but you can live physically, or you can die physically and live spiritually, or you can do both. You can die spiritually first, live physically longer, then die physically, come back spiritually, and do it all over again. They call it reincarnation, but the Africans call it resurrection because certain people can only come at certain times. So now when we're looking at the 2Pac, the first thing that tell me something is not right. 2Pac, time of death, 3:04 p.m. On a Friday. 3:04 p.m. on a Friday. Anybody that do their research automatically know that if he's having a cremation funeral on Sunday morning, you automatically know something ain't right. You automatically know something ain't right. Now, the whole thing rests at the beginning of it. You have to see that the first step, where is the first anomaly that's out of order? There's no way possible to have an autopsy, a cremation on a murder in less than 36 hours. Now I challenge anybody to go in the history books and find a person that was actually murdered and cremated and had a funeral in less than 3 days. You're not going to never find that, because it takes a minimum of 12 hours to incinerate a body, a minimum of 12 hours, because of the bones and the teeth. They have to be incinerated as well. Everything had to be burned to dust. That's not possible. It's not possible, because if the coroner expedite autopsy to the front of the line, if he expedited, I mean, if he jumped the line on the other homicides in the area, skip all of the ones that was first and go out of order, because it's a job. They go in an order. But if he was like, this is a special case, this one has to be done first because of the police is saying this is a big deal. Okay. It take at least 4 hours minimum to do an autopsy on somebody of natural causes. They do extra stuff in a homicide that can take them up to 8 hours to 16 hours to do one autopsy. So it's not possible to die, have an autopsy, be incinerated, and have a funeral in less than 36 hours. It's not going to happen on Earth.
One thing you got to realize, the whole world know I hate rats, I hate snitches. I ain't into telling. So people always want to know, is Pac dead, is Pac alive? I'm the wrong motherfucker to ask. But I tell you this, if you try to find a person who cremated Tupac, after he supposed to cremated Tupac, he retired and vanished into the sun, into the sunset, into the darkness. After if you really look at it, could Pac done all those songs? Sort of mathematically impossible. So answer your own question. Is he here, is he there? But at the same time, that was my little brother. His code name was Machiavelli, like mine is Simon. And if you know the story of Machiavelli, he faked his own death. But at the same time, they wanted to put Pac back in prison. And Pac would fake his own death and disappear before he go back to prison. So shit, you answer that. Do you still hear him? Do you still see him? I'm quite sure you do. But once again, I ain't into telling it, so you never know.
It defies the law process. Now, where's the next anomaly at? The next anomaly is an interview that his mother gave with Tavis Smiley when she said, don't worry about Tupac. Tupac lives his life. She just told you you're alive. How can you live your life if you've been assassinated? So you have Mopreme. Mopreme said he on a legendary path. Tupac ain't dead. He doing some legendary shit. But what is he talking about? Now, we got to go back again to the beginning. What's the beginning is the Fab Five Freddy interview. The Fab Five Freddy interview, you will see Tupac in a studio with various artists. Every single one of these artists has been a major industry force. Every one of them. There has not been one of them that at one point or another did not have a major hip hop record. Now, at this point, you have to say, what is it all about then? Why would Tupac fake his death? Let's analyze that. So he's trying to show you right before your eyes how a guy can come from the gutter, thug life. He said, I'm gonna show you the evolution of a man. So he started off as this kid, fun-loving kid, You know, love everybody and everything. And you get to watch the life beating him down. You get to watch the reporters reporting bullshit. Every time he get arrested, this is a big fucking deal. Everything he do, they amplify it, right? So now, something happened in the quiet studio, which a lot of the stuff I'm not going to dig as deep as I want to, because there's some other stuff I would like to show y'all. The quiet studio situation is the springboard for the first 22 months. Now, what is the greatest sacrifice somebody can do? Self-sacrifice. Because there ain't nothing left after that. Self-sacrifice is the greatest sacrifice you can do.